Hi, everyone. Today we are in the dark of the moon, and this is my dark of the moon report for the last dark of the moon of the year. I'm recording this on Friday, December 27th, around 1 p.m. Pacific time, and it felt like a good day. I really feel in the cells of my body the dark of the moon every time I feel it coming. And it will be dark until approximately 12 hours after the new moon on the 30th. So, this particular dark of the moon is restful. One, because it's happening in the dark of the year, just after the solstice. Every dark of the moon is restful in people who have a great lunar pull on the fluids in the cells of their bodies. So, you may be listening to this after Friday the 27th, but see if you can remember back to the 27th and how you felt that day. Sometimes, because the lunar pull is less, the dark of the moon seems to be a receding or a large low tide. You may feel the pull of other planets, especially if they're connecting and configuring with your own natal chart in a very strong way. So it may not feel so restful, but other things may be coming to the forefront. But at this time of year, it's particularly wonderful to allow ourselves to pull back and really feel our awareness open to an expansive place where we can contain all of the energies manifesting at this time. So there is a configuration of a grand trine, two grand trines actually, a fire and an air that includes the nodes of the moon. And the first one would be Pluto, Sedna, and the south node. That's the air trine. And then the second one would be Mars, Moon, and North Node. And they're fleeting. The Pluto, Sedna, and South Node will last for longer, but the Moon is going to move on. But these trine flows, these flows of energy, allow us to settle a little bit and um, bring some resources to the Pluto energy, which is opposing Mars. It's not direct at this moment. It's not a tight opposition. It is, Mars is actually retrograde. Pluto is direct. But the opposition, I think it's 0 degrees Pluto and 3 of Mars. So it's not a very tight, dynamic, laser pointed opposition. But that opposition can be troublesome for people on the planet, depending where you are, or even in your own energetics of your own being. It can be violent, it can be fiery, it can be aggressive, it can be impatient, and it can manifest in so many kind of pointed arrows kind of way. So what we would like to do with the trining energy is allow an openness in the field of our being to feel how these energies are manifesting. See if we can notice them before we express them outwards. And that might save us a little bit of trouble, but oftentimes we're in an entanglement before we even notice. And so, in the quiet moments of the new moon, it's good to practice pulling back and breathing deeply from the center and almost like an arrow pulling back, breathing into the low back and let the energy pull back, and then allow the exhale to circulate the sparks of the dark light, the energizing. I think of it as the dark matter. It's energizing. And allow that to circulate in your body so that you have resources if and when the challenges come up. The other challenging aspect is Saturn square Jupiter, and we have Mercury in a T square with that Saturn square Jupiter. So the Mercury will move on, but the Saturn square Jupiter will linger through the next few months. And again, those are like two huge waves coming right at each other. There's nothing inherently good or inherently bad. Actually, they contain a whole bunch of energy, which, if we know how to harness, can power our systems forward. But the square asks that we have a mechanism or a system to receive that energy and direct it in the way that we wish to accomplish certain goals in our life. Instead of allowing the waves to crash upon us, we receive the waves internally, and with our awareness and our breath, we create a system of use of that energy that makes it more useful to us instead of destructive. And there are ways to do that. Just taking long walks, breathing deeply, of course, and different kinds of breaths. The box breath where you breathe in and then you turn around and breathe out for equal measure. And just doing that a few times a day really helps. And learning to be best friends with your own breath. I have a lot more on my breath on my channel. But how it works with the squares is a way of receiving the incoming energy and redistributing it so that it's not wild and woolly, and we are not the victims of it, but we are the receivers of great energy. The other trine is the fire trine of Pluto, Moon, and North Node. And again, the North Node is an attractor. It's where we're going in our life, and it might not be our own contrived plans. It might be a pull that we feel inside of ourselves. It's a true unknown for some of us, and yet it's very strong. And Pluto trine that gives us, again, an energetic propulsion towards something, the great attractor, the event horizon. And the moon for today, just for today, the dark of the moon is illuminating that within the dark of our being. And dark doesn't mean bad. Dark means calm and centered and deeply quiet, which is why I love this time. So the other aspect that's happening today is Venus square Uranus, and that could be sparks of all kinds of things related to earth and pleasure and needs and desires and surprises. Could be a little bit of disappointment. Maybe you got a box of chocolate caramels instead of chocolate cherries. It could be so many different expressions. But again, they're sparks. And if we breathe in the sparks of surprise, whether they're surprise in the direction that we wanted or minor disappointments or shocks, if we breathe in that spark and then exhale it into the spine, into the heart, we can receive the energy of life more fully and enliven every cell in our body with these configurations. So this is what the dark of the moon is doing for me this time. I wanted to share this with you, and I do astrology readings. You can find me at www.circleofbreath.com/sacred astrology. My name is Kay, And thanks for joining me today. And I hope you have a wonderful new year. Take care.